Natalie, a modern day doctor, experiences a sudden and mysterious shift in her life. While scuba diving, she is caught in a powerful underwater vortex. When she regains consciousness, she finds herself in a completely different world. She wakes up in a shabby yet exquisitely carved wooden bed, covered by a gray curtain. Her whole body aches terribly, as if being bitten by countless ants. A girl named Janine, who is overjoyed to see her awake, reveals that Natalie has been in a coma for 3 days. Janine is Natalie's loyal servant, having grown up with her and choosing to follow her into the palace. Natalie soon realizes that she has transmigrated into a fictional dynasty called. The current emperor is Aubrey. The original Natalie was a talented woman in her boudoir days. She fell in love with Aubrey, a prince neglected by the previous emperor. With Natalie's help and strategies, Aubrey ascended the throne. However, on their wedding night, Natalie was brutally injured and sent to the cold palace by Aubrey without any explanation or a formal decree of being deposed as the Empress. As Natalie recovers, she and Janine face a harsh life in the cold palace. Their daily meals are simple and unappetizing, mainly consisting of boiled vegetables and plain buns. Janine tries to improve their situation by embroidering handkerchiefs and selling them, but the profit is meager. Natalie, determined to change their fate, decides to use her knowledge from the modern world and her family's medical background. She remembers that in spring, women are concerned about skin problems. So, she comes up with the idea of making facial masks. Using the fresh flower petals that Janine collects from the palace garden, Natalie, with her knowledge of chemistry, creates various masks. When Janine first sees Natalie wearing a mask, she is terrified, mistaking her for a ghost. But after trying the mask herself, Janine is amazed by the effect. Her previously dull skin becomes shiny and smooth. Natalie persuades Janine to sell these masks to the palace maids and nannies. The masks prove to be extremely popular. So popular, in fact, that the demand far exceeds their production capacity. Even the nannies who deliver their meals, in the hope of getting masks earlier, start to bring better food to Natalie and Janine. One day, while Natalie and Janine are in the palace garden, Natalie, dressed as a maid, meets a handsome and mysterious man. She mistakes him for a guard and scolds him. After returning to the cold palace, she asks Janine if she has ever known any man she had a bad relationship with. Janine tells her about a kind young man who saved Natalie from human traffickers when she was a child. A jade pendant was left behind by this man, but it disappeared a few days before Natalie's wedding. As the masks continue to sell well, Natalie realizes that they can no longer rely on the flowers in the palace garden, as they have been over-picked. She decides to find an agent outside the palace. Janine mentions a trustworthy acquaintance from her pre-palace days. Natalie plans to provide the formula and raw materials, while the agent will be responsible for production and sales, with a profit-sharing arrangement. With the outside the palace business on track, Natalie finally gets a break from her previous hardships. In the Ellie Palace, there is a young and charming woman named Concubine She, whose real name is Ellie. She is leaning against the handsome Emperor Aubrey. Interestingly, Ellie and Natalie were cousins before entering the palace. Ellie's father was imprisoned and exiled for serious corruption during his tenure. Natalie's grandmother took pity on Ellie and her mother and brought them in. After the court situation stabilized, Ellie entered the palace with Natalie. Ellie received great favor, living a life completely opposite to Natalie's, who was sent to the cold palace after her wedding. One night, Aubrey seemed absent-minded. Ellie noticed and asked. Aubrey, who actually had the image of a fairy, like woman he met in the imperial garden that night in his mind, tested Ellie by asking about a jade pendant. He remembered that he had never given a jade pendant to the girl he saved from human traffickers in his youth, but Ellie claimed to have received one. Ellie's answer was a bit evasive, and Aubrey became suspicious. The next morning, Aubrey left Ellie Palace early, and he ordered someone to investigate who had been to the imperial garden the previous night. Meanwhile, outside the palace, Natalie's business was booming. She developed various products like facial masks, creams, and perfumes. The money-making business allowed her and Janine to live a relatively comfortable life even in the cold palace. One day, a cute Persian cat appeared in the cold palace. Natalie, who loved cats from her previous life, was overjoyed. She named the cat Liang Liang and took good care of it. However, one day, when they were about to have a meal, Liang Liang suddenly barked and fell under the table, spitting black blood. It died, and Natalie realized someone was trying to kill her. Janine told Natalie that she might have had a bad relationship with her cousin Ellie before entering the palace. Ellie was now the most favored concubine in the palace. Feeling heart-broken and realizing the danger, Natalie decided to leave the palace with Janine. They managed to escape, and at the same time, the palace announced the Empress's death as a cover for their departure. After leaving the palace, Natalie, with Janine following her, decided to visit her shop called Lanky Pavilion first. On the way, Natalie, like a curious child, was attracted by the bustling market. She was so interested in everything that it took them much longer to reach the shop. When they finally arrived at the shop, Natalie accidentally bumped into a handsome man in white. The man was so good-looking that Natalie was stunned. But the man left soon after making sure she was okay. Entering the shop, Natalie and Janine were greeted by a young maid. When they said they were friends of the boss, the maid asked for proof. Janine told her to inform the boss that Janine had come. Eventually, the beautiful boss, Judy, came out. She was excited to see Janine. After leading them to the inner courtyard, Janine introduced Natalie as the Empress and the big boss of the shop. Judy was grateful to Natalie and Janine for giving her the opportunity to run the shop. She provided Natalie with a special jade token. When placed in front of a lamp, the words Lanky Pavilion would appear on it due to the heat. Judy assured Natalie that the inner courtyard was safe and that their products were so popular that there were branches in many cities within and outside the country. Natalie and Janine decided to stay there for a while to prepare for their further journey.